Hello, my friends. Today we are going to be talking about a lot of stuff news-wise, and then I have just a little life advice for you today. So, we're going to start off with Trump's rally. So that happened 4 days ago now, and it was very entertaining. There weren't a lot of people there, but it had record number views on Fox, which of course is already the most viewed news station, and of course with all the other news stations, it was about 20 million live viewers there, and then on YouTube and stuff, there were I counted at least 400,000 live when I was looking through the recommended feed and the one I was watching. So there are a lot of people here, and here's what he had to say about churches.
Joe Biden and the Democrats want to prosecute Americans for going to church, but not for burning a church. They believe you can riot, vandalize, and destroy, but you cannot attend a peaceful pro-America rally. They want to punish your thought, but not their violent crimes.
Okay, so you saw that. That was very true. The left does not care about churches at all. Beto O'Rourke, who was formerly running for president, said that he hated churches and wanted to get rid of their tax credits if they thought that being gay was a sin, which of course we know it to be true. So it wouldn't just count for churches, it would count for mosques and synagogues as well, because we all pretty much believe in the same doctrine. And that's all I have to say about that. It was a good speech. Of course, pastors came out criticizing it because he said something about the Kung Flu, which I think is stupid. Most pastors, they're not real pastors. More on that later. So next I want to talk about Shaun King, who said that all statues of Jesus are a form of white supremacy and should be torn down. He's a far left activist, obviously, who on Monday said all images depicting Jesus as a white European should be torn down because they are a form of white supremacy. King made his remarks over a series of Twitter posts as historic monuments and statues have become the targets of anger and vandalism during Black Lives Matter protests in the wake of George Floyd's death while in police custody late last month. His exact words were, "Yes, I think the statues of white European they claimed is Jesus should also come down. They are a form of white supremacy, always have been. In the Bible, when the family of Jesus wanted to hide and blend in, guess where they went? Egypt, not Denmark. Tear them down." He followed up with another post saying that white Jesus is a lie and a tool of white supremacy. He then clarified that he wanted the murals and stained glass windows of white Jesus and his European mother and their white friends to go, which I think is just ridiculous. Everyone knows Jesus wasn't white. He was probably looked like your average modern day Israeli. Very short, like this skin tone, If anything, it's a form of anti-Semitism, But what he wants I think this is what people really want, is they want Jesus to be portrayed as a black person while they have Europeans play the Romans and also the Pharisees, because that seems to be a common trend with the depiction of Black Jesus, which is why I don't like the depiction of Black Jesus. It always just turns into only Jesus being black, but not the Pharisees, who were just as bad, because, no one actually cares about black on black crime. They need to have the black man being persecuted by the white man in order to push their narratives. But I think this whole story is stupid. Of course, that's not going to happen. If that ever happens, then, the Democrats will never win another presidential election, because all the Christians would just turn away from them. I don't know. There are a lot of Christians who value their ideological, political beliefs more than they value what is in the good word of the Lord, also known as the Bible. Speaking of religion, like we talk about anything else, the Ohio governor signed a bill expanding religious freedom in school. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, signed a bill into law expanding the religious freedom for students in a public school that was criticized by the American Civil Liberties Union, or the ACLU for short. The Student Religious Liberties Act, introduced by Republican Representative Tim Ginter in March 2019, passed with a near unanimous vote and was signed Friday. We were seeing increased pressure on our schools from groups biased against Ohio students' religious freedoms, Ginter said in a statement. Many schools officials are confused and frankly intimidated by the threat of litigation from these well-funded groups. There are a lot of students who testified before their house and the committees to help this bill get passed. And I think it was an absolutely necessary thing, because they were being excluded from yearbooks, and they weren't really allowed to have facilities for meetings, at least not the same access to that a secular group would have, which is absolutely ridiculous and a clear violation of your First Amendment rights. No student should have to hide their faith just because they enter a public school. And that is a quote from Aaron Bayer, president of Citizens for Community Values, a conservative group that advocates for school choice. That's what he said. So there are a lot of critics of the bill, and the critics of the bill say it could allow students to avoid penalties for scientifically wrong answers if those happen to conform with their religious beliefs. And I guess all science that contradicts the Bible has never really been proven. Evolution, not proven at all. There's no evidence for it whatsoever. In fact, they've been making up evidence for it for a very long time. And even history is very arbitrary. They don't know the dates for when anything happened. They know that a lot of these things happened, they just don't know when. Take Egyptian history, for example. Those dates are finicky at best. They're just assuming how long people lived, and then that's how they calculate where things go. And when you put those calculations up against other surrounding areas, none of those dates match up at all. So all history should be taken with a grain of salt. All science that has to do with things before humans were alive has to be taken with a grain of salt, because we don't know. You can assume, for example, calculus was literally made just to prove physics. Am I denying physics exists? Absolutely not. But that is exactly what it is. These are just man-made things to rationalize what they see and how they think the world works. They aren't anything else but that. So Gary Daniels, chief lobbyist with the ACLU of Ohio, questioned if a student could use it as a get-out-of-jail-free card for turning in biology homework, saying the Earth is just 10,000 years old and not get penalized, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's completely idiotic that that would even happen. Like, homework in general is just all fake, but like there is no proof that the Earth is more than 10,000 years old, just as there is no proof that the Earth is 10,000 years old, other than the people who see it. Like dinosaurs, for example. If dinosaurs were around for millions of years, we would have millions of bones at least. But we have very few. It's just take everything with a grain of salt, is what I'm saying. Christians really need to work on our discernment, which we will get into in the life advice. Next, I want to talk about the Knights of Columbus, who sued Delaware City for banning the nativity scene as blatantly unlawful. Local Knights of Columbus Council in Delaware filed a lawsuit today against the city of Rehoboth Beach for banning its nativity from the bandstand on the boardwalk. The Knights chapter, affiliated with St. Edmund Catholic Church and represented by First Liberty Institute, Jones Day and Morton, Valahura and Zerbato LLC, is claiming religious discrimination after the city prohibited all religious holiday displays beginning in 2018. The Knights of Columbus simply want to continue a beloved tradition of this town, Roger Bryan, First Liberty Senior Counsel, said in a statement to Fox News. And there are other places that or like other entities that are going out against this decision, including Krabby Dick's Restaurant, which put up a sign saying, "Wake up, Rehoboth Beach. Jesus is the reason for the season." So yeah, this isn't a very popular decision with the people in the city. It's just these Democratic lawmakers wanting to push their agendas onto other people. Their compromise was to move it like half a mile away, but the people aren't about that. Speaking of what the people aren't about, Chicago had their deadliest weekend ever on this Father's Day. 14 people killed, and among those people was a 3-year-old boy. A Chicago pastor called this Father's Day horrific. The Reverend Ira Acree of Greater St. John Bible Church gathered Sunday afternoon with neighbors and family members of 3-year-old Mekhi James, who was fatally shot, to denounce the violence. And that's according to the Chicago Tribune. He said a line was crossed. "This is a horrific Father's Day. This 3-year-old baby lost his life. I could not pastor this community and not say anything. We say all Black lives matter, but we're here to say Black baby lives matter more." Unfortunately, no one on that city council agrees with you. Otherwise, this wouldn't have happened, because the mayor is absolutely refusing to call in any support for this area during the riots. It's absolutely ridiculous that these things are happening, but no one really cares. There was also a 13-year-old girl who died, and two teenage boys who were 17 and 16 also died in a separate shooting in the South Chicago area, and the pastor did announce that the church is offering $2,500 for any information that could lead to the arrest of the person who shot McKee. This is absolutely ridiculous, and the mayor is not doing anything about it. And, he said Black baby lives matter. Of course, not to these people who purposely put Planned Parenthood in Black communities. Like, those things are organized there for a reason. They are not just put there. There's reasons why you only see them in Black areas and not like the predominantly white suburbs or upper class places, because they know that those people are easily, or poorer people are more easily coerced into getting an abortion than richer people. Anyway, speaking of that, a really key part of being a Christian is your ability to discern, which is the ability to make clear judgments, or ability to judge well, I believe is the actual definition, but the ability to judge. So this was done by the reason why there is no policing there and why this was able to happen is because there were a lot of Democratic lawmakers who are absolutely refusing to help fix the problem because they know that if there is no problem, that they won't win. So then they often make up problems if there are none, and which I think is absolutely ridiculous. But I hate to keep coming back to this Bible verse, but I think it's one of the most important Bible verses for our time, which is, "You shall not circulate a false report. Do not put your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. You shall not follow a crowd to do evil, nor shall you testify in a dispute so as to turn aside after many to pervert justice." So you can't even stand with these people. These people lie constantly. There was a fake NASCAR hate crime that was being propped up by the left without doing any actual research on the topic. They just took it and ran. And then they didn't even come out really and say that it was fake. They did the same thing with Jussie Smollett. That was everywhere, and it was fake. And people who were like questioning it were just assumed to be racist. Like, no, I just want the actual facts about the case. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you stand with any of these people who are doing any of these things, there are no just these same people say that like the police, like there are no good police. Well, if you're standing with someone who is rioting, if you're doing those protests while those are happening, then you are just as bad as those rioters. And if you support the Democratic Party or the left in general, this is what you're supporting. I'm going to end the video with that.
Problem that bothers me, you says Black Lives Matter. I've worked here part-time. Plus, I'm a part owner of this store. You said Black Lives Matter. Why don't you choke me? I'm black. Look what you did to my store. Oh,
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't quit touching me. Yeah, don't hurt. Don't hurt. Stop moving. I'm sorry, man. Hurt. I'm sorry. Don't touch me. Come here. I'm talking about.
Get your ass out of here, bitch.
That's what I'm talking about. I told your ass.
Get your ass out of here.
I told you. Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you?
Ain't nobody
Y'all got to stop it! And you call it black power! You mad the white man? Why destroy my business? Why destroy my truck? Why steal my computer? I'm trying to make it! Could you understand that? Can't y'all see it? I'm trying to make it!
Just start listening.
Tell me Black Lives Matter. You lied.